What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So this morning we had some massive news as at 8 a.m. Patrick Kane has signed with the Detroit Red Wings. I literally rolled out of bed at 8:15, saw the notification. I'm like, holy shit, it finally went down. Really exciting. This has been one of the biggest lingering stories of the entire NHL season. Where will Patrick Kane sign? Thought it was Buffalo, thought it was New York, thought it was Florida. Ended up being Detroit. So I kind of wanted to break down why he chose Detroit, what he's going to look like when he plays for Detroit, where he's going to slot into the lineup, and overall how this will affect the Red Wings in terms of, are they going to be a playoff lock now? Are they an actual contender, or are they just absolutely fugazi? So let's get into it. Let's get into why first he chose Detroit. This comes to us from Emily Kaplan. She said, after meeting with several teams, I'm told Kane was very impressed with Detroit's coach, Derek Lalonde's X's and O's, hockey acumen, and vision for Detroit. And I can't, although I've been lower on the Yzer plan than most, I can't deny that they have looked very good this season. They got a 62.5% points percentage right now. They're in a playoff spot pretty safely in the Eastern Conference. I did not see that coming. Lalonde has been one of the best coaches in the entire league. He personally is on my Jack Adams ballot. Go check out one of my latest videos from my quarter season awards. And their star players like a Larkin, like a DeBrincat, like a Sider, like a Gothisbehere are absolutely tearing it up offensively. So I don't blame Patrick Kane for going to Detroit and trying to be a part of something, especially if it is a multi-year deal. You look at it, might make the playoffs this year, then that following year, I think they're only going to be better or at the same level because they are a pretty young team. So I don't really blame Kane. Now, as to where and why Kane also did this, it's pretty obvious. Kane wants to play with DeBrincat. They had a shit ton of success when they played in Chicago for 4 seasons. Kane had 2 90-point seasons, including a 100-point season, and DeBrincat had 2 40-goal seasons. They were one of the best duos in the entire NHL. This stat is pretty crazy. 50-plus goals assisted by Kane. It's Taves at 118. Then DeBrincat, again, they only played 4 seasons together, and then Patrick Sharp at 62. So the chemistry's there. I think if you're going to bring in Patrick Kane, you need to play Kane with DeBrincat just because you have that built-in chemistry, especially with Patrick Kane joining in late November, month and a half plus into the season. You're obviously going to put them together. So what does that look like? I've seen a lot of people talk about DeBrincat, Larkin, Kane. I don't think that's the move. And if you're aware of Detroit, they actually split up DeBrincat and Larkin. It's now, for the past couple weeks, or past couple games at least, it's been Veleno, Larkin, Raymond, then DeBrincat, Comfer, Rasmussen. And I kind of like that, especially with the addition of a Patrick Kane. I think you slot Patrick Kane on that second line instead of Michael Rasmussen. I think you split it up because with me, obviously Lucas Raymond is having a great season. I don't think you form that super line, although I don't think that Kane is a elite first liner anymore. I don't think you form that super line of DeBrincat, Larkin, Raymond. I think you let Raymond stay with Larkin because that is one of the duos that you're going to have for the next 10 years. And I think you let Raymond play with elite talent in Dylan Larkin, and then you balance out your top 2 lines instead of having that top line and then having Raymond play with Rasmussen and Comfort, because Raymond's development is essential for the Red Wings' future as a whole. It's a main reason why, when it was initially announced that Kane might be heading to Detroit, I wasn't a fan of it. This was from one of my podcast clips, Kane to the Wings is stupid. Obviously, Detroit has massively exceeded expectations as of right now, so I am more open to it, considering Patrick Kane, if it is a 1 or 2 year deal, he's in there, help them make the playoffs this year, then maybe gone after just 1 season. But when looking at a guy like Lucas Raymond, I don't think you throw his development potentially under the bus by tossing him on the second line, playing with not a ton of talent, just for a 35-year-old Patrick Kane that, again, is coming off hip resurfacing surgery. So now let's dive into that in terms of what Patrick Kane will look like. It's anybody's guess. I hate to say it. The 2 main guys that recently have had hip resurfacing surgery at the age that Patrick Kane had is Ryan Kesler and Nicholas Backstrom. Kesler came back for 20 games. Wasn't the same, had to retire. Backstrom played 37 games last year, wasn't that good. He was a minus 20 in 37 games. It was absolutely insane. I know plus minus isn't a great stat, but he had 20 points in 37 games, but one of the worst defensive metric guys in the entire league last year. And then this year he played 8 or 9 games and he had to call it quits. He basically retired. He wants to collect his checks, so he's stepping away from the game. He's on LTIR. So in looking at that, I think it is a major concern. Now, definitely Patrick Kane in his prime was a better player than Backstrom, better player than Kessler. And that's not taking away from those two. Those two were fantastic as well. Backstrom should be a Hall of Famer. Kessler was one of the best two-way centers in his prime in the entire league. So in looking at that, Kane does have a higher place to fall off from. Like if it's a similar drop, he'll end up being higher, a higher floor. But I think there is massive concerns because you look at him last year, 57 points in 74 games. Horrendous defensively. He still definitely has the offensive IQ. The hands are not affected by hip resurfacing surgery, but I'm just very concerned about his overall agility and overall speed. You see the training clips and people are like, he's 1000% back. Yeah, anybody can look fantastic doing drills in training. Let's relax. That's like the equivalent of like combine in the NFL saying this guy's going to be a goddamn future Pro Bowler. But with Patrick Kane, I think best case, he's a 60-point pace guy, but is horrible defensively, which you still take on like a 1-year deal at $3 million. You still take that. You still take that all day of the week. But I think there's a real chance that he is just a meandering middle sixer that can inspire a play here and there, a decent playmaker, but just can't keep up with the pace of play. I'm nervous. And again, if it is a 1-year deal, it's not a big deal because Detroit had the cap space, you might as well spend it. So I think it's not the end of the world if he ends up not really panning out as long as they don't give him a 2-3 year deal. But this is clearly a sign from Steve Yzerman that Detroit's ready to win now. They're not playing around. Not that the Yzer plan is over because they still have a shit ton of prospects coming up the pipeline. But in terms of tanking for high draft picks, it's done. I kind of like him saying, we started off so well. I believe in this core. Now, as it turns out, going into, does this make the Red Wings an actual contender? No, I don't think so. Does this make them a safe playoff team? Still think they're going to be battling for a wild card spot. I don't think that the underlying numbers on this team is a little bit concerning. You look at them. I'm pulling up the advanced stats. Some of you guys are probably moaning right now. Not moaning. So you guys are probably mad right now. Groaning, not moaning. When you look at it, right now the Wings offense are scoring 3.7 goals per game, which is fourth in the entire NHL. But in terms of expected goals per 60 in all situations, they're actually 18th in the entire league at only 3.1. The underlying 5-on-5 numbers are very concerning right now. They're scoring 3.1 goals per game in terms of just regular, not expected goals, which is second in the entire league. But 2.2 expected goals per 60, which is third worst in the entire league, only behind the Blackhawks and the San Jose Sharks. Right now, their expected goals percentage is 47% versus their real at 57%. So I think this team, they're going to be battling for a playoff spot. Are they the low 100-point pace team that they are right now on paper? I'm not so sure. But obviously, bringing in a guy like Patrick Kane, I like that they're realizing the underlying offensive numbers are not that impressive. They're scoring a shit ton, mainly because their power play is going off and they are getting a ton of production from their star players. But they're realizing that we might slow down, so we might as well bring a guy like Patrick Kane that can potentially inspire some offense. So I do like how they've gone out and got a Patrick Kane. They might do something at the deadline as well. I like how they are attacking this problem before the regression does start to hit, and then maybe by trade deadline time, they're battling for a wild card spot instead of safely in. I think Patrick Kane will help with that. There's no denying that he is offensively talented in terms of that. Can their defense, Patrick Kane's not going to ruin their defense, but can their defense also elevate when that offensive regression might potentially come? We saw with the Canucks. They were shooting out of their ass. They were far exceeding their expected goal share. They're starting to come on the come down. Detroit is playing fantastic right now. They've won 3 straight. They're playing great. But how they will balance with this kind of shooting regression that I think is going to come for Detroit is going to be interesting, especially bringing in a guy like Patrick Kane, maybe bringing in a couple young guys from the AHL to kind of spark something in terms of their offense. It's going to be very interesting. In terms of the Detroit Red Wings, if I had to predict right now, I still wouldn't have them in the playoffs, but I think I would put them at like 90 points, 91 points on the dot. I personally I think the Devils are going to come back, get a wild card spot or something like that. Pittsburgh, I think, can turn it around. Washington's been very good, but they have a couple games in hand. So I think Detroit, they're going to be in the mix, especially getting Patrick Kane. It's definitely encouraging. It's definitely an exciting time to be a Detroit fan because even if they miss the playoffs, if they're at 91 points, I predicted them to be like 82, 83 points. So they're still well ahead of schedule, well exceeding expectations. And Patrick Kane, as a fan, you just love to see something like that. Like if I'm a Red Wings fan, I just love to see a legend of our game come in and play for my goddamn. Imagine he played for the Islanders. That'd be very interesting. Getting that Kane jersey in terms of will he wear number 88 with Daniel Sprong. That's another thing. You might slide him 100K and say, "Yo, I'm wearing 88." Come on now. But until we see the numbers on this contract, I can't really like grade this addition. I think if it's 1 year, I like it. It's going to be at least a B, unless it's like $5 million. That'd be ridiculous. If it's 2 years, but it's only like 3 million, 2.5 million, I can get with it. If it's 2 years, $3.54 million, then I'm going to start to get very concerned. But overall, I do like the Red Wings going out and doing something like this instead of, say, at the deadline, giving up a first-round pick or heavy assets. There's really not a ton of risk unless you sign them to that second, third year on this deal. But let me know in the comments, what do you think about this Patrick Kane signing? Do you think the Red Wings are going to make the playoffs? And I'll see you in the next one.